my cutest little champions, how are you all? I hope everyone who is watching this video is doing absolutely good. And thank you from the bottom of my heart for commenting that you're liking our videos, for asking us doubts, for giving us genuine feedbacks. We love all of it and we're truly grateful to have you in our small little channel. And I was saying one thing, that is, I hope we are helping you well for your board examination, and I just want to tell you everything is going to be all right. Do not be anxious, do not be worried about anything. Everything is cool, okay? And today we are going to solve sample paper 7 of biology, my dear children. So it is not sample paper, okay? Basically this question paper was given the previous year. Okay, we thought of solving it. Okay, so instead of writing previous year question paper, this time we put it as sample paper 7. Okay, just understand it's the previous year question paper that was given in the year 2024. There are so many sets of questions that came. So we have chosen few question papers like that, almost 4 of them, and we will be solving up over here. Okay, chalo, let's get started. Yes. So biology, how much marks do you think biology can give you? Almost 30 marks, my dear children. 30 marks. 80 marks is the total marks for your science subject, and 30 marks of it is coming from biology. That is a huge deal. So you should be prioritizing biology. That does not mean you don't need to study chemistry and physics. Don't do that. Okay, study both of the subjects. It's really important. Yeah. Chalo. Consider the following statement, okay? This is MCQ question. The sex of a child is determined by what it inherits from the mother. The sex of the child, do you think, is determined by that? Okay, what will be the chromosomes in the case of the mother? If mothers are females, right? So they will be having 2X chromosome. Fathers are males, so they have XY chromosome. What do they have? X and Y chromosome, two different chromosome. Now suppose this is there in a gamete, this is there in a gamete, X is there in a gamete, Y is there in a gamete. That is, both are sperms and both are eggs over here. Suppose this egg fuses with this sperm, you get X and X, that means it is a female child. What about this X? Suppose this X came from mother's end, this Y came from father's end, what do you get? Male. But either case, the female is always contributing X. So do you think the sex of the child is determined by what it inherits from the mother? Mother always will be giving what X chromosome? It's the father who will be determining the sex of the child. So I'll say the first statement is wrong. So you have to find the correct statement, right? So this is wrong. The first statement itself is wrong. The sex of the child is determined by what it inherits from the father. This is correct. The probability of having a male child is more than that of a female child. Do you think so? Do you think that probability of having a male child is more? There is nothing like that. Suppose this X and this X came together, you get X and X, that is a female. This X and this Y came, so I say X and Y, that is a male. This X and this X, so I will say X and X, that is a female again. This X and this Y, you get XY, this is a male again. So 50% of the chance out of 4, twice the chances are there that a male can be born. Twice there are chances that a female can be born. Cool? So I will say this is also wrong. Now what about 4th? The sex of the child is determined at the time of fertilization when the male and the female gametes fuse to form a zygote. Yes, when the male and the female gamete fuses to form a zygote, that's when you determine the sex of the child, when the two gametes bring their set of chromosomes. So this is correct. So I'll say 2nd and 4th is correct. 2nd and 4th is correct. B option is correct, my dear children. Okay, let's see if this is working or not. Yes, it's working. So answer is B. Okay. Next question. Chromosomes. They carry hereditary information from parents to next generation. Do you think chromosomes carry hereditary information? Yes, my dear children. What do you mean by chromosomes? Chromosome is basically the DNA in the most condensed form. And DNA carries the genes, and genes are the one that codes for the DNA. It carries certain areas which is known as genes, and genes are the one that codes for protein, and proteins are the one that defines us. Each part of us is defined by what? Protein. So they carry hereditary information from parents to the next generation. Yes, we are going to get half chromosome from one parent, half chromosome from another parent. This is how the information is passed. This is why we have some similarity, at least some similarity to both of our parents. Okay. So this is correct. They are thread-like structures located inside the nucleus of an animal cell. Yes, my dear children, chromosomes which is there, they are thread-like structures and they are actually present inside the nucleus. Can they get out of the nucleus? No, if they get out of the nucleus, the enzymes are going to kill them. So basically it stays in there. Now always exist in pair in human reproductive cells. Do you think in human reproductive cells, what do you mean by that? Human reproductive cells as in germ cells, or what do you call them, sperm, egg and things like that. In sperm and egg, do you think they are there in pairs? Will they be present in pairs, my dear children? No, please understand they are not present in pairs. Usually when you are talking about a normal cell, in that case we have 46 number of chromosomes, that means 23 pair is there. But in the case of germ cell, in the case of gamete cell, what happens is that from each of these pairs only one chromosome is going to come. So that means instead of having 46 number of chromosome, how many number of chromosome do I have? 23 number of chromosome, not even pair, I am talking 23 pair was there. 1 pair, 2 pair, 3 pair. From each of them, one chromosome got into a gamete. Only one from each of them. So how many chromosomes do you have? Half of 46, what? 23 chromosomes. So can I say it is not in the paired format? They always exist in pairs? No, my dear children, they are not going to exist in pairs. So this is wrong. Now, are involved in the process of cell division? Do you think chromosomes are involved in the process of cell division? Yes, it is definitely involved in the process of cell division. When the cell divides, the chromosome also divides and then it is separated into 2 and things like that. So this is also true. So I'll say 1, 2 and 4 is correct. 1, 2 and 4 is C option, my dear children. So the answer is C. Cool? Chalo. Next, in a nerve cell, the site where electrical impulse is converted into a chemical signal is known as. In a nerve cell, the site where electrical impulse is converted into a chemical signal. So basically what happens, the electrical signal comes from the dendrite, then to the cell body, then it comes to the axon. At the axon, you have axon terminals, my dear children. At this particular position, what happens? There are synaptic knobs present, and from the synaptic knob certain chemicals are being released. Certain chemicals are being released in the synapse. In the synapse. When there is a neuron, the next neuron when is there, you call this region as what? Synapse. Now suppose there is a muscle after this. Suppose there is a muscle cell after this, then what do you call this junction as? You call this junction as neuromuscular junction. Okay, what do you call it? Neuromuscular junction. So from the neurons end, that is from the axon terminals, the synaptic knob, from the synaptic knob present at the axon terminals, neurotransmitters are going to release. That means chemicals are going to be released in the neuromuscular junction. So can I say this is the answer? In a nerve impulse, the site where electrical impulse is converted, completely converted into chemical signal, because now chemicals are being released. Where is this happening, my dear children? Neuromuscular junction. Okay, neuromuscular junction. Okay, sometimes axon terminals and everything might be given, that is also correct only. Chalo. Now next thing, a stomata closes when? When do you think stomata closes? So stomata closes, for example, this is a guard cell. Okay, and the guard cell, when it has enough amount of water, it becomes like this. So it becomes open like this. So stomata is open as of now. But when it loses water, my dear children, when the water is lost, it shrinks. The cells over there, guard cells, it shrinks and it closes up. And when does this usually happen? And when do you need to close the stomata? When there is no need of carbon dioxide or anything. When carbon dioxide is not needed anymore, at this point of time, you can just close the stomata. Why to open the stomata and let the water get lost? So we don't want the water to be lost. So the water molecules also go throughout, how? With the help of transpiration. So we do not want that to happen, which is why the stomata, if it's closed, let it remain closed, if the CO2 is enough in the plant's body. So suppose CO2 is not needed and the H2 moves out of, this H2 and this H2 coming out from stomata is different. Okay, the H2 present in the guard cells makes it swollen. Now when it is lost, you call them shrunken state, you call the state as shrunken state, and it closes up, my dear children. It shrinks and then it looks something like this. So the stomata is basically closed over here. Okay, so I'll say a stomata closes when it needs carbon dioxide for photosynthesis. No, it does not need carbon dioxide for photosynthesis. When there is no need of carbon dioxide, at that point of time the stomata will be closing. Now water flows out of the guard cell or water flows into the guard cell. When the water flows out of the guard cell, that's when the stomata is going to get closed. So can I say 2 and 3 is correct? 2 and 3 is correct. With that we say option number C is entirely correct. Cool? Chalo. Next question. Why is it not moving? Yeah. Identify the food chain in which organism of second trophic level are missing. Second trophic level, as in, for example, you have plants. Now plants are eaten up by trophic level 2 organism. Trophic level 2 organism are eaten by T3, trophic level 3 and then trophic level 4, and the same thing goes on. So grass is there, goat is there, lion is there. So grass is there in producer, as in plants, or it can be any producer, right? It can be grass or anything. So grass is there, goat is there, lion is there. So there is second trophic level. So I cannot include this. Zooplankton, phytoplankton, small fish, large fish. So over here phytoplankton will come over here because phytoplanktons are the producers of aquatic region. Now phytoplanktons are eaten by zooplankton. So there also second trophic level is fulfilled. Now zooplanktons are eaten by small fishes and small fishes by large fishes. This is also correct. Now tiger, grass, snake and frog. So grass is there. Now grass cannot be eaten by frog, nor snake, nor tiger. So can I say this link is missing? Probably if grasshopper was here and then there was frog and then there was snake and then there was tiger, it would have made sense. But since you do not have grasshopper over here in T2, can I say this is the one where the second trophic level is missing? Yes. Here the grasshopper is mentioned. So I'll say this is where it is missing. Cool? It's easy questions. Now, in which of the following organism multiple fission is a means of asexual reproduction? What do you mean by multiple fission? Multiple fission is when the nucleus, for example, this was an organism and the organism had a nucleus. The nucleus keeps on dividing so many times, my dear children. Okay, and it forms a cyst also around it. And what happens? The cytoplasm is not divided as of now. Cytoplasm will divide later on and slowly all of this will be covered by that. And later this cyst will break open and these guys are released. So in which type of organism that you see over here, will they show multiple fission? Will they show multiple fission? So I'll say yeast, if you see, yeast shows budding, my dear children, which is also asexual reproduction, but it is budding where it forms small buds. Leishmaniates shows binary fission. Binary fission is when one organism divides into two, just two. But over here I see multiple organisms are being formed. So this is also wrong. Paramecium also divides by binary fission, one organism into two. What about plasmodium? Plasmodium is something that divides by multiple fission, and this is something that causes malaria, my dear children. Always remember. So you can be asked which mode of reproduction did the malarial parasite have. So you should know plasmodium is the one that they are talking about, and it shows what? Multiple fission. Cool? Yes. Now next question. Assertion says accumulation of harmful chemical is maximum in the organism at the highest trophic level of a food chain. Okay, so for example, a plant was there. There is plant 1, plant 2, plant 3, whatever. So over in this particular plant, I put 4 mg of some pesticide, a chemical. Now what happened? Some organism came. Okay, some organism came, it ate plant this and this. So this organism will be having what? 8 mg of this particular chemical. Why? Because this chemical is not broken inside the plant's body. It cannot be broken down. These are those type of chemicals which cannot be broken down. Now this guy had it in this guy's body also. It is staying like that. It is not getting broken down. Now suppose there is another guy also who ate another plants. So it also have 8 mg. Now a frog is coming and eating both of them. What does the frog will have? Frog will have 16 mg of this particular chemical because this chemical is not getting broken down in any of the trophic levels. So the amount of it will keep on increasing. Why? Because the larger organisms which are there, it will be eating more food. So obviously they will have more amount of these toxic chemicals. So what do you call this thing? The accumulation of toxic chemicals, what do you call them? You call it as bioaccumulation. Bioaccumulation. And when the toxic thing increases throughout the level, you call this process as biomagnification. What do you call it? You call this as biomagnification. So accumulation of harmful chemicals is maximum in the organism at the highest trophic level of a food chain. That is entirely correct. The reason harmful chemicals are sprayed on the crops to protect them from diseases and pests. That is not the reason. Okay, harmful chemicals are sprayed on the crops to protect them from diseases and pests. That is true, but this is not the reason. Reason is why? Reason is that it gets accumulated, which is why it is not, and it's getting accumulated, it's not getting broken down, which is why it is keeping on increasing. So I'll say statement A and B, both are A and R, both are correct, but it is not. R is not the correct explanation of A, my dear children. It won't be the correct explanation of assertion A. Cool? Chalo, next question. The rate of breathing in aquatic organism is much faster than in terrestrial organism. So aquatic organisms like fishes and all, they breathe like very fast. Why do you think they do so? Why do you think they do so? Because I'll tell you, in the water body, the amount of dissolved oxygen, the oxygen is not found in the gaseous state like how it is here in this case. It is found in a dissolved state, and the amount of dissolved oxygen is way too less. The amount of dissolved oxygen, my dear children, is way too less. So probably when they took in water, Okay, when they took in water and this water passed through the gills, they are only receiving little amount of oxygen, which is why they have to breathe faster, so that this water which is there, this water is containing just 2 molecules of oxygen, suppose. Okay, they have to take more water to get more oxygen molecules, you get it? This is why their rate of breathing is really fast. Okay, so the amount of oxygen dissolved in water is very high as compared to the amount of oxygen in air. It is very much wrong. Okay, this is very much wrong. The amount of oxygen dissolved in water is very less, my dear children. So can I say assertion is true, reason is false? Yes. So I'll say assertion is true, the reason is false. Good. Chalo. Next, section B. Before the section B starts, I want you to drink some water along with me. So I have a bottle of water, and this is your reminder to not get stressed about anything, but just have a little bit of water. Water tastes the best, always. Chalo. Now, state 1, this is a 2-marker question, okay. State 1 role of each of the following in the human digestive system, my dear children. Hydrochloric acid, what does it do? Hydrochloric acid creates an acidic medium. Why, ma'am? Why there is a need of acidic medium? First reason. So the food that we take in, along with that, few pathogens also come in, like, yeah, we have entered our body. So what happens? We have to kill those pathogens, the germs, which is why we have hydrochloric acid. Apart from that, there are certain enzymes being produced inside the stomach, for example, pepsinogen. This is an inactive enzyme. This is what? An inactive enzyme. It will become active when there is acidic media. When there is acidic media, my dear children, at this point of time, the pepsinogen will become active and give rise to pepsin. And what does pepsin do? In our food, whatever protein is there, it is being broken down by pepsin to smaller units, that is known as peptides. So basically, for this function to happen, to have an acidic medium, for this guy to get converted into this guy and to do its work, you need hydrochloric acid. Cool. Now we have villi. What do you mean by villi? Villi are basically in the inner surface of the small intestine. You have certain things like this. Okay. Over here, this is the layer which is present, the inner layer which is present. Over here again, you will be having certain small layers. What do you call this certain small layers as? You call them villi, my dear children. Now villi, if you see, villi will also have certain cells over it. Villi will also have certain cells over it. What do you call them? And the cells, it looks like this. Okay. So this hair-like structures which is found on the cells, you call it microvilli. Microvilli. So the thing is, the basic thing that I am going to tell you, you have to listen to me very carefully. Villi is there. Over it you have small cells having microvilli. Basic use of this is to increase the surface area for absorption of important nutrients. So for example, if something is like this, it can only absorb the things from the surface. But if the same thing is arranged like this, don't you think it will have more room for absorption of things, more things? So which is why, if there is a curved surface, you're basically increasing the surface area for absorption of the important nutrients. So small intestine is a place where final digestion of things happen. Carbohydrates are broken down to small sugars, proteins are broken down to amino acids, fats are broken down to fatty acid and glycerol. Everything happens over here. Now you want the smaller units to be taken back by the body. Okay, they are going to provide us energy, right? So, and over here you have lots of blood vessels, okay, you have lots and lots of blood vessels as well. So to absorb this food and to take it back into the blood vessels, what do we have? We need to have higher surface area, which is why we have villi. Now what is the use of anal sphincter? Anal sphincter is present as a sphincter muscle. It helps in the closing and the opening of the large intestine. Okay, at the anus. Why? We do not want the food to go out like that. The undigested food should be going out in a regulated sense. Okay, it should be going out in a regulated sense, which is why we have anal sphincter or anal sphincter. Now, lipase is there. Lipase, whenever the term ase comes, just understand it is an enzyme. It is going to break down something. Now, lipase is something that is going to break down lipids, my dear children. They are going to break down lipids as in fats. Fats into what? Fats into fatty acids and glycerol. Okay, how do you write the answer? Hydrochloric acid creates an acidic environment in the stomach which is necessary for the activating the enzymes pepsin that digest proteins. That is one point. Okay, now villi, a small finger-like projection in the small intestine that significantly increase the surface area, facilitating the efficient absorption of digested nutrients. Anal sphincter control the passage of waste materials out of the body during defecation, okay, preventing the involuntary loss of fecus. So we do not want the undigested to go like that. So we want it to be under control. So that is why we have anal sphincter muscles. Now lipase is an enzyme that catalyzes the breakdown of lipids, that is fats, into fatty acid and glycerol, aiding in what? Fat digestion, helping in fat digestion. Okay, and this way you get 2 marks. So probably half for each. Okay, write in points, underline. Now, how is the movement of leaves of the sensitive plant different from the downward movement of the roots? So when you touch a plant, like touch me not plant, it will just close itself. It will just close itself. It won't come to me. It won't go away from me. It will just close in a different direction. So what do you call this type of movements as? You call this type of movements as nastic movements, my dear children. Where the stimulus, the direction of the stimulus has nothing to do with the direction of what? The response. The direction of the stimulus has nothing to do with the direction of the response. Okay, for example, I touch, it closes. Okay, it closes, but it does not close towards me or away from me. So it is not a directional movement, and plus it is not a growth movement. There is no growth happening over here. When you talk about downward movement of root, so roots are growing towards the gravity. Okay, they are going towards the stimulus. What is the stimulus? Gravity, my dear children. So what do you call this type of movements as? You call this as tropic movements. So if the roots were growing away from the gravity, you call them negative tropic movement, geotropic movement. Now since they are moving towards, you call it positive geotropic movements. Okay, anyway it is directional. It will either go away or towards. Not like this, who does not have any directional sense. Okay, now this is tropic movements, and also over here the downward movement of the roots, it is a growth movement. The root is growing, my dear children. It is a growth movement. Now why is this happening? This is happening that in touch me not plant, the sensitive plant the sensitive plant, that is touch me not plant, it closes up. Why? Because there is a loss of water. So when we touch it, what happens? There are a lot of hormones, ions and everything that becomes active, such that the water in this particular region, what do you call this region as? You cannot see it. Okay, but there is a region like this which is known as pulvinous. It loses water. That is when these leaves which were stiff like this, it closes up. Get it? So that is how it works. How do you frame this answer? The movement of leaves on a sensitive plant is nastic movement, okay, caused by changes in the turgor pressure, that is the pressure that water exerts, okay, and is independent of the direction of the stimulus. It is not dependent on the direction of the stimulus. In contrast, okay, opposite to that, the downward movement of roots is a tropic movement, specifically geotropism, okay, it moves towards gravity. So this is a geotropic movement, okay, positive geotropical movement, now which occurs in response to gravity, my dear children, and here you can see growth as well. Cool. Now there is a hormone which regulates carbohydrate, protein and fat metabolism in our body. What is that hormone? It is thyroxine, released by thyroid gland. Okay, thyroid gland releases a hormone, that is thyroxine, and thyroxine, what it does, it regulates everything, most of your functions of your body. Metabolism of fat, carbohydrates, proteins, everything. Metabolism as in breakdown, making of everything is controlled by this particular hormone. Now why is it important for us to have iodized salt in our diet? Why do you think it is important that we should be including iodized salt in this diet? The thing is, the thyroxine hormone that we say, it has, okay, it has iodine molecules within it. Okay, so iodine molecules, they combine together to help in the formation of the thyroid hormones, that is triiodothyronine and also thyroxine. So there are 4 iodine molecules in thyroxine. Okay, in triiodo there are 3 iodine molecules. Anyways, you need iodine atoms, not molecules. You need iodine atoms for this. Now you're not having iodized salt, then can you make it? No. Even though your gland is trying to make the hormones, can it properly make it without the help of iodine? No. Which is why it is suggested that we should be having iodized salt. Now what happens when we do not have iodized salt, my dear children? It's undue pressure for our thyroid glands, so that it gets swollen. And what do you call this disease as? You call this disease as goiter. Okay, what do you call this? Goiter. So the hormone is thyroxine, which is secreted by thyroid gland. Iodine is important in our diet because it is essential for the synthesis of thyroxine. Deficiency in iodine leads to goiter, which is the swelling of the thyroid gland. So our thyroid gland gets swollen because of the same thing. Cool. Chalo. Next thing, section C, 3 mark questions, my dear children. So, why is respiratory pigment needed in multicellular organism with larger body size? So, in unicellular organism, no diffusion happens. That is, oxygen from here comes inside and the carbon dioxide goes outside. But in our case, do you think it's possible? No. We are multicellular organism. We have so many cells. The cells come arranged together to form organs. Organs come together to form organ system. Then what do you form? Cells come together to form tissue, then organ system, and then the whole system, right? So, basically, in our case, it is more complicated. We cannot rely on diffusion alone. So, which is why we need pigments in our body. We need cells in our body that will have pigments, and these pigments will be carrying what? Oxygen and things like that, carbon dioxide and oxygen, things like that. Because we have a larger body, we have more complex body. Okay. So, respiratory pigments like hemoglobin are needed to transport oxygen efficiently in multicellular organism with largest body size, because simple diffusion is insufficient to meet their oxygen requirement. Second thing, respiratory pigments bind to oxygen, ensuring its transport to all parts of the body. We have to make sure that every part of the body is receiving it. For example, today our leg is paining, that not mean we will be bad to a leg and say that no oxygen will be provided to you. It's not like that. Anyway, we have to provide oxygen, carbon dioxide, everything to each and every part of our body. Cool. Okay. Okay, chalo. Next thing, what do we have? Give reasons for the following. Rings of cartilage are present in the throat. Actually, they are present in the trachea. Okay, so why do you think there are rings of cartilage in a trachea? So, trachea, it looks like this, which basically branches to 2 bronchi. So, why does it have rings of cartilage, my dear children? Why do you think? Such that, okay, when suppose the oxygen, there is no transport of gases in and out there. Okay, it should not collapse. It should not collapse. It should be having that stiff structure, which is why we have rings of cartilage in the trachea. Yeah, trachea. Look, the basic things we forget, which is why children, I am telling you, sleep at night properly. In my college days, I was not a person who used to get up and study early. So I used to just stay awake all night for studying. So don't do that mistake. Your memory will be terrible like me. Okay. Now next thing, lungs always contain a residual volume of air. Again, lungs which is there. For example, when we breathe in and we breathe out, I am telling you, hey you, breathe out, and you are breathing out completely. It's not like there is no air in your lungs. There will be some residual volume of air still there in your lungs, my dear children. Why? Otherwise, again, it will also collapse. And there is a diffusion thing happening, and all our cells of our body are requiring oxygen. So, if you for 1 second also, if you are not giving them oxygen, they are going to make a huge trouble out there. Okay, so definitely there will be residual volume of air for this particular reason. Now, the diaphragm flattens and the ribs are lifted up when we breathe in. So, when we breathe in, okay, if you see, just put your hands over here and just breathe. You can see it is enlarging. What is happening? The ribs which are there, it is lifting up, and the diaphragm which is there, okay, below the lungs, my dear children, you would be having diaphragm. This diaphragm which was like this, it will now turn to like this. It will go straight down. So usually it was curved, now it becomes straight like this. Why? You need more surface, you need area for the oxygen to come in, or basically the gases to come in. That is why your ribs are getting lifted up and your diaphragm is going to go down. Okay. Now, walls of alveoli contain an extensive network of blood vessels. Why do you think they contain an extensive network of blood vessels? So, when the bronchi divides into bronchioles and the bronchioles later divide into primary, secondary, tertiary, other bronchioles, at the end you get alveoli. They are small, balloon-like structures. So, these alveoli are richly supplied, okay. They are richly supplied with blood vessels. Why do you think this happens? Because the oxygen which we took in, it is going to the alveoli, it is going to go to the alveoli, right? So, there is too much amount of oxygen over here, and now we have blood vessels over here. This oxygen which is there, it will move from a region that is having higher concentration to a region having lower concentration. Suppose this was a thick something, do you think that this diffusion can take place over here? No, diffusion would not be taking place over here. So, it will directly diffuse out into the RBC molecules which will be carrying this oxygen with the help of hemoglobin, which is right in there. Okay, so walls of alveoli contain an extensive network of blood vessels. Why? Because it needs to exchange the gases. Okay, let's see the answer first, everything. So rings of cartilage in the throat or basically trachea keep the airway open and prevent it collapse during breathing. It does not want, okay, even when air is not there, you should not be collapsing. That should be the actual answer. The residual volume of air in the lungs prevents them from collapsing and allows continuous exchange of gases even during exhalation. When we are breathing out at this point of time also, there should be continuous exchange of gases. Now during inhalation, what happens? The diaphragm contracts and flattens, increasing the chest cavity's volume. Yeah, the chest cavity's volume is increased so that more amount of air can come in. The ribs lifts down outwards, reducing air pressure in the lungs, causing air to flow in. So when you basically enhance this, okay, enlarge this, what is happening? The air pressure is comparatively reduced. Now to combat that, obviously the other air which is there will be coming inwards. Okay, it will be flowing inwards. Now the extensive network of blood vessels in the alveoli ensures efficient exchange of gases, that oxygen and carbon dioxide between the lungs and the blood. Easy. Now 33 question. Do we have one more question? No. Okay. 33 question. So plant, deer and lion is given over here. In the given food chain, what will be the impact of removing all the organisms of the second trophic level? Okay, if I remove all the deer, my dear children, what will be the impact on the first, that is on plants, and also on the third trophic level? Will the impact be the same? Let's answer the first question first. What will the impact if I remove all the deer? If I remove all the deer, my dear children, the plants will keep on flourishing. Their amount will keep on increasing. What about the poor lions? The lions would not be getting food. The lions, they would not be getting food. So their population would decline. So the lower trophic level, their population increases. The higher trophic level, their population decreases because there is no food. Will the impact be the same for the organisms of the third trophic level in a food web? Justify. Will the impact be the same for the organisms of the third trophic level in a food web? In a food web, my dear children. So in a food chain, things are different. Okay, if there is a food web, then obviously what happens? There will be other prey species that it can feed on. Okay, it's not just deer, but there can be other, you're talking about food chain and this time this guy is gone, it's a big problem. But when you're talking about a food web, obviously this lion can go and eat other organisms, probably mice or whatever, rabbit is there, whatever is there. So that in that case it won't be like that, the impact won't be the same. Let's see. So removing the second trophic level reduces grazing pressure on the plants, that is obviously it won't be eaten up, that is what it means. Causing plant population to increase, that is trophic level 1 organism, it increases. Underline this. Okay. Now the absence of deer leads to decline in the lion population due to lack of food. The lion will obviously get decreased. Now in the food web, lions may have alternative prey, my dear children. They can prey on something else. It's a food web. So people know generally they don't see it's a food web and they keep on going answering. So it's not like that. You have to be very attentive with the smallest things that is over there. So in a food web, lions have alternative prey. So the impact on their population may not be as severe as in the simple food chain, my dear children. Cool? Got it? Chalo. Now gas X, which is deadly poison if found, okay, if found at the higher levels of atmosphere and performs an essential function. Oh no, it was correct. So a gas X, which is a deadly poison, is found at higher levels of atmosphere and performs an essential function over there. Name the gas and write the function performed by this gas in the atmosphere. Which chemical is linked to the decrease in the level of this gas? Let's do parts by parts. Always remember, when you read a question, do the first part, then go with the next part. Okay. So it is said that gas X is a deadly poison, but it is usually found in the higher trophic level, and at higher trophic level it is actually doing a good thing. It's performing some essential function. Now you have to name the gas and write the function performed by this gas in the atmosphere. So the name of the gas is what? X is what? Ozone, my dear children. It is what? Ozone. Now what is this gas doing? Ozone, basically it forms a layer around the earth in the stratosphere, and it protects us from the harmful UV rays. It protects us from the harmful UV rays. Now, which chemical is linked to the decrease in the level of this gas? What do you think is responsible for decreasing the level of this gas? So you might have heard about ozone hole. So there was a hole over here in Antarctica region in the ozone layer, which was due to the increased amount of CFCs, my dear children. What do you mean by CFCs? This is the chemical that you're talking about. Chlorofluorocarbons. carbons. So chlorofluorocarbons were being used, and because of excessive use of chlorofluorocarbons, what was happening, my dear children? There was a depletion in the ozone layer. Okay, there was a depletion in the ozone layer. Now, what measures have been taken by an international organization to check the depletion of the layer containing this gas, my dear children? The measure was to stop using things that was producing chlorofluorocarbons. For example, ACs. Okay, stop using ACs which was producing, instead produce something else. Instead have some other type of AC that does not produce this. Okay, stop manufacturing any product that has the release of what? CFC. That was being done, and it was being done under the intervention of United Nations Environmental Program, my dear children. United Nations Environmental Program. I remember it as PEN-U. You have a PEN-U, either way, UNEP. Okay. So, ozone is a gas. Ozone protects life on earth by absorbing harmful ultraviolet radiation. Chemical causing depletion is chlorofluorocarbons, my dear children. Measures taken. The Montreal Protocol was adopted to phase out production and use of ozone depleting substances like CFCs. So, Montreal Protocol, everything came into action. But before that, what do we have? What did we have in your textbook? UNEP. Okay. United Nations Environment Program. Cool? Chalo. Section D. 5-marker question. So, 5-marker question. First question. Name the 3 technique devices used by human females to avoid pregnancy. Mention the side effects caused by each. So, what are the 3 devices used by women to avoid pregnancy? Can you guess? Can you guess? One is barrier method, where there is use of condom, my dear children. There is female condoms as well, so that there is no meeting of male sperm and the female egg. Okay, this is a physical, physical barrier between both. Now, apart from that, you have oral pills. There are oral pills, and what does oral pill do? Oral pills releases hormones like progesterone and estrogen, and these hormones are naturally produced in our body, okay, in a normal level. But when we are giving it, their level is getting imbalanced, right? There is a hormonal imbalance in our body, and when this hormonal imbalance is there, my dear children, do you think the normal functioning will happen? No. Hence, the ovum release is not happening, that is ovulation would not be happening, or sperm wheating, whatever is there, the implantation, okay, after the egg and the sperm meets, it will form zygote. This zygote will divide to form embryo. This embryo will come down to the uterus and stay there and form the fetus. Now, this process of getting implanted, the embryo of getting implanted into the uterus, that won't be happening, okay, because of the hormonal imbalance over there. Apart from that, can you tell me one more method? There is something that is known as intrauterine devices, IUDs. So, this is inserted inside the uterus, intrauterine devices. For example, copper T. So, copper T is a substance that you insert inside the uterus, and what does this copper T do? It releases copper ions, my dear children. And the copper ions, what does it do? The sperm which tries to enter, no, it will just hold it. It makes the sperm less motile. It won't allow the sperm to move really, really fast. And if the sperms are not able to move, do you think that they will go and fertilize? No. Okay, so these are the 3 things that you can probably write. Now, what happens if in a woman fertilization takes place? If in a woman fertilization takes place, my dear children, what will happen is that the uterus which was there, it had the endometrium layer, right? So, that is the innermost layer, okay, of the uterus. So, zygote will slowly, zygote is a unicellular thing, it just has one cell. And this one cell is formed by fusion of 2 cells, that is male sperm cell and female egg cell will come together, have a common nucleus, which is why I say one cell is being formed, that is zygote. Zygote will keep on dividing to form an embryo. This embryo will soon go and get into the endometrium and stay there, because this endometrium is going to provide nourishment. Later on, the embryo as well as the mother's tissue, is going to form placenta. And this placenta is going to provide all kind of nourishment to this growing embryo, my dear child. Okay, it is going to provide all kind of nourishment to the growing embryo right over here. So, if fertilization happens, that takes place. If fertilization is not happening, what will happen? The endometrium layer, which was being thickened every month, this particular layer will shut down, and what do you call this process as? You call this process as menstruation. Okay, you call this process as menstruation. So, how do you write this? Oral contraceptive pills. Okay, first thing we will see the pills, or what's the way in which females can avoid pregnancy. Oral pills, oral contraceptive pills prevents ovulation, my dear children, that is release of ovum. Release of ovum. Side effect is nausea, weight gain and mood swings. Now intrauterine devices, what is the use of this? Prevent implantation of the embryo. Side effect is what? Cramps and irregular bleeding. Barrier methods, do we have to mention the side effects? Yes. Side effects also we have to mention. Okay, intrauterine devices could cause you cramps and irregular bleeding as well. Contraceptive pills, as I said, it's hormonal, so it will be having weight gain, mood swings and nausea. Okay, barrier method has preventively, they do not have much side effects, but yes. So it prevents sperm from reaching the egg, such as condom. Okay, non-significant rare latex allergies. So condom is made up of latex, so it can give you allergy at times, but not for all. So that is there. Okay. Now fertilization takes place in the human female. The sperm and the egg unite to form zygote. This zygote then implants itself in the lining of the uterus, where it's begin to develop an embryo. This is wrong statement. Okay. Please do not go and write this. The zygote divides to form embryo. The embryo is going to soon implant. The embryo gets soon implanted into the endometrium. Now, if an egg is not fertilized in a human female, it disintegrates. What disintegrates? This egg will disintegrate. Apart from that, consequently, the uterine lining which was prepared to support the potential embryo sheds off during menstruation. That also disintegrates. So, two things disintegrates. One is the ovum which is there, which is being released, and also the layer which is there to provide nourishment to the growing embryo. That is also getting broken down. Cool. So if the egg is not fertilized, these are the things that is definitely gonna happen. Okay, please do not come and write this. I'll make out certain changes over here. This is wrong. So fertilization takes place in human female. The sperm and the egg unite to form a zygote, and the zygote divides to form the embryo which gets implanted into the uterus. That is how it goes. Okay, please remember, this is a zygote. Suppose this zygote divides into 2. You will now call this as embryo. This embryo divides into 4. You will call this another stage of embryo. So you in the embryonic stages, you have different names. Morula, blastula, blastocyst, things like that. So please know the difference. Okay. Now, draw a diagram showing spore formation in rhizopus and label the reproductive parts, the non-reproductive parts. Why does rhizopus not multiply on dry slice of bread? Okay, chalo. If you are asked to draw it, let's draw. This is sporangium, my dear children. This is mycelium. There will be root-like structures over here, rhizoids. Okay, and everything, and inside this you will be having spores. Please remember all this thing that you see over here, mycelium, whether it be mycelium or whether it be everything, the rhizoids which are present, okay? Mycelium, yeah. Everything, it is formed of something that is known as hyphae. Okay, it will be formed of something that is known as hyphae. So, these are known as rhizoids, the root-like structures and things like that. Okay, so this is how you have to draw. Here is a proper picture. You can see this also. So hyphae is there, spores, sporangiophore, that is mycelium, sporangium, every single thing is there. Instead of sporangiophore, you can write, this is, instead of writing this, you can just write mycelium. That will be much better. Mycelium. Okay, now, so reproductive part is this particular part that you see over here. Okay, the sporangium which you see, that is a reproductive part because it is going to burst open and give rise to spores. So that becomes the reproductive part. The filaments that you see over here, the mycelium which is there, the rhizoids which is there, it is the non-reproductive parts. Okay, they are the non-reproductive parts. So you have to label the reproductive and the non-reproductive parts. Now, why do you think rhizopus not multiply on a dry slice of bread? What do you mean by rhizopus? First thing, so rhizopus, this fungi is commonly known as bread mold. Have you heard about it? Now, bread mold, if you know, okay, does not just randomly grow on anything. It will be growing in moist surface, my dear children. Why? Because in moist surface only it will have the moisture to grow. It has a favorable condition to grow. So whenever there is a favorable condition, what happens? The spores are released already. Every time there is a bread mold, the spores are released. And the spores just stay like that. Whenever they see that there is a moist environment, they will go and basically start forming another mold over there. Again, they will divide. This particular spore that you see, it allows this particular spore that you see, it allows the particular, thing. Spores, they have cyst, Okay, they have cyst, and it allows it to stay in unfavorable condition. That is what I was trying to say. I don't know why I didn't get the words. So the spores which are there, it has cyst around it, and this cyst basically allows the spores to stay in unfavorable conditions as well. Cool. Now, name and explain the process by which reproduction takes place in Hydra. Name and explain the process by which reproduction takes place in Hydra. So Hydra is a multicellular organism which almost looks like this, my dear children. They have tentacles of their own and things like that. And how do they reproduce? Usually they have a common method of reproduction which is known as budding. So they make small buds. So they have chuddy buddies. Okay, they have small buddies, okay, with them. So it's a normal term that we use in general. Please do not take it in any other sense. So over there, you would be having small buds, and they will also have their tentacles. Okay, and now what happens? This guys slowly move away and give rise to more Hydra. They will be giving rise to more Hydra. That is the way it produces. And what do you call this reproductive method as? You call this method as budding. Okay, this is the asexual method of reproduction. They also produce sexually, that is totally different. You are asked about asexual. So, reproduction in Hydra occurs, okay, first thing first. So, Rhizopus reproduces asexually through the formation of sporangia, which contains spores. Sporangia, sporangium, same thing, okay. Reproductive parts, sporangium and spores. Non-reproductive parts, mycelium, the vegetative part consisting of hyphae. I told you, right, the stem-like structures are known as mycelium. Now, reason for lack of multiplication on dry bed. Rhizopus requires moisture for spore germination, for the spore to give rise to the whole organism, that is the bread mold again, and hyphal growth. The dry slice of bread lacks the necessary moisture, inhibiting the spores from germination and the mycelium from growing, thereby preventing multiplication. Sorry. So there is no multiplication happening over there. Now, process of Hydra, okay. So reproduction in Hydra occurs through budding. A small outgrowth known as bud develops on the parent Hydra. This bud grows by elongating and differentiating into various body parts. Once fully developed, the bud detaches from the parent organism to become an independent individual. So slowly the bud which is there, it will detach from the parent organism and form a new individual right over there. Now, the type of reproduction. Budding is an asexual reproduction method allowing Hydra to reproduce rapidly without the need for gametes or fertilization. Okay. So, what is the type of reproduction? It is budding, my dear children. Now, the last part of this particular question paper is section number E. Section E consists of 4 marker question, my dear children, and it will be really easy. So, let's deal with it. So, Mendel worked out the rules of heredity by working on garden pea using a number of visible contrasting characters. He conducted several experiments by making a cross with 1 or 2 pairs of contrasting characters of pea plant. On the basis of his observation, he gave some interpretations which helped to study the mechanism of inheritance. So, when Mendel crossed pea plants with pure tall and pure short characteristics to produce F1 progeny, which 2 observations were made by him in F1 plants. So, what are the 2 observations that he got in F1 plants, my dear children? So, let's see. He took pure tall plants and he took pure dwarf plants. The gametes will be capital T, capital T. So, these are found in each chromosome. So, any of this chromosome can come in a gamete. I told you from a pair only 1 chromosome will come. Half, right? So, similarly, either this or this. Either way, it's the same thing. If you fuse this with this, you get capital T, small t. If you fuse this with this, also you get capital small t. Same thing. Capital T, small t. Capital T, small t. Over here, everywhere if you see, what happens? This capital T is dominant over the other one. Okay, it is dominant over the other one, hence all of them will be tall. So, what is one thing that I saw? That only the dominant character was shown in the F1 generation, and there were no plants showing the recessive character in the F1 generation. So, he got to understand there is something dominant and there is something recessive. Now, write one difference between dominant and recessive trait. What is the one difference in the recessive and dominant? Dominant traits can be expressed also when they are in heterozygous condition. Okay, when they are in heterozygous condition, as in probably If it is capital T, small t, then also it will express. If it is capital T, capital as in it's in a homozygous condition, still it will express. If it is heterozygous, it will express. If it is homozygous, still it will express. What about recessive character? It would not be expressing in this condition, in heterozygous condition. It will be only showing its character only if it is in one homozygous condition, homozygote, as in zygotes are containing the same gametes, okay? Homozygous, heterozygous, okay, two alleles are there, it is known as heterozygous. Same alleles are there, homozygous. Now, in a cross with two pairs of okay, let's solve these two first. Okay, let's see the first two questions, then we'll go. So, at all the F1 plants were told, showing that tallness is a dominant trait. That is what he found out. And the second thing was the short trait was not expressed in F1 generation, as I told you. Now, difference between dominant and recessive trait is that dominant trait expresses the presence of both homozygous and heterozygous alleles. A recessive trait expressed only in homozygous condition, my dear children. Okay, now the next set of question. In a cross between two pairs of contrasting characters, that is capital R, capital R, capital R, capital Y, small r, small y, that is round and yellow and wrinkled and green. Mendel observed 4 types of combination in F2 generation. By which method did he obtain F2 generation, my dear children? How did he get F2 generation? So, when you cross this, when you cross these both plants, what are you going to get? You are going to get F1 generation. You are going to get the first generation. Now, when did he get F2 generation? When he did selfing of this. So, whatever organism he found in the first generation, he did selfing, self-pollination among them. So, what happened? Then he got the F2 generation. So, I will call this as selfing. Okay. Now, write the ratio of the parental combination obtained and what conclusions were drawn from this particular experiment. So, when he actually crossed, okay, capital R, capital R, capital Y, similarly small r, small y, what happened in the F1 generation? Let's see that. So, this is a chromosome with capital R, another chromosome paired with capital Y. Similarly, here also small y, small y. Okay, what happens is that from this particular pair, one can come in, it can be capital R. From this particular pair, either one can come, so it can be capital Y. Whatever you do, whatever type of gametes you try to form, every one will be like this only, capital R, capital Y. Similarly, from this pair, small r can come, from this pair, small y can come. Whatever you do, this will be the pair. So, I am not making the 4 different type of gametes and things like that. There will be 4 combination, but all the 4 combination will be the same. Now, the gametes, when they fuse to each other, what do you get? Capital R, capital Y, small y. So, it is like this. One capital R, another small r, one capital Y, another small y, right over here. So, this is the thing. Now, can I say it is round and yellow again, because round is a dominant trait, capital R is a dominant trait, and yellow is also dominant trait. Now, when I cross plants like this again, what am I going to get? What am I going to get? So, from this pair, my dear children, either capital R can come or capital Y can come, or capital R can come and small y can come, or small r can come and capital Y can come, or small r can come and small y can come. So, these are the type of gametes that I get. Here I got only one type of gamete. Okay, but here I am going to get lot of gametes. Similarly, again up there also in this particular parent also I will be getting all these gametes. When I fuse them, my dear children, I am going to see, okay, suppose capital R, capital Y, this I am going to fuse, I am going to get something like this. Suppose this thing I am going to fuse with this guy. So, I will get capital R, capital Y, capital R, capital Y, small y. Again something else I am getting. So, in all ways, you have to make all the 4 gametes right over there with the Punnett square and do that. In exam, you don't have to do all this thing. It's a direct question. So, you started off with round and yellow, my dear children. You started off, okay, I am going to erase. You started off with round and yellow, saying that they were dominant, and wrinkled and green. Always remember, now in F2 generation, 9 of them will be round and yellow, 1 of them will be wrinkled and green. Now, you need 2 combination which was not found in the parents. So, parents were like this, so 2 new combination will be, round will this time come with green and wrinkled will be with yellow. So, can I say round and green are 3 in number and wrinkled and yellow will be 3 in number. So, 9:3:3:1 is the phenotypic ratio. How do they look? Genotypically they might be different again. if phenotypic ratio is 9:3:3:1. So, write the ratio of the parental combinations obtained and what conclusions were drawn from this experiment. What conclusions were drawn from this experiment, my dear children? That is, traits segregate independently, demonstrating the law of independent assortment. So, over here you saw that basically round and yellow and wrinkled and green were there, but apart from that I got round and green and wrinkled and yellow also, which is new trait. Why was this happening? Because when capital R, small r and capital Y, small y were going into gametes, capital R didn't say that I will only go with capital Y, it went with this guy also. So from here if we get this, and from the other side, okay, from the other side, suppose you are getting small r and small y, okay, small r and small y, what will happen? Aren't you making a new combination up here? Round and wrinkled. So this is law of independent assortment. They are assorting, they are moving away from others, each other independently, and they are not dependent on each other. That is what you mean by law of independent assortment. Cool? Okay? So this was being stated. You have to write every time. Remember, whenever you're talking about dihybrid cross, whenever you're talking about two characters and stuff like that, okay, when round and yellow, you're not talking about this tall and dwarf. There is two character. Round is one character, that is about the shape. Yellow is the color of the seed. So two characters are there. In that case, you're talking about law of independent assortment, my dear children. Okay, now there's one more question. Justify the statement. It's possible that a trait is inherited but may not be expressed. Yes, it's possible that a trait is, what say, it is passed on but it is not expressed. Why? Because it is a recessive trait. There is another allele which is dominant which expresses over it. So how do you frame this answer? A trait can be inherited but not expressed if it is recessive and the individual possesses a dominant allele for that trait. In heterozygous conditions, the dominant trait masks the recessive trait, making it unexpressed but still inheritable. Okay, dominant trait will mask its effect and do not allow the recessive trait to express itself, but still it will be inheritable, it is inherited. So please understand that. And with this we are completing sample paper 7 questions as well, my cute little champions. I hope whatever I taught you today, you have understood this in all sense, and if you have doubts, please feel really free to ask me in the comment section. So I see a lot of doubts coming, saying not a lot of doubts, but I see doubts coming in each and every video. Usually it's Hema Varshini who asks doubts. Kudos to you, my child. It's a great thing that you are doing. Okay, whatever doubts you're having, you're not keeping it to yourself, you're asking, and that's a great thing. And why did I go really fast this time? Because obviously we have solved so many sample papers, my dear children, and this time I know you might not have too much time to listen to all the teachers for 1 hour each. So which is why I thought I'll just speed up. Okay, anyways, we are just revising with the help of these question papers. It's not that we are studying a whole new thing. I hope everyone is in this page, right? I hope everyone is revising and not studying over here. As of now, it's not the time to study. Okay, but if you're studying, it's still fine. We can make it. You are free to ask me any doubts. I'm telling you again and again. That's the only thing that I wanted to tell. Okay, so that's all, and do not forget to hit the like button and comment down whatever you want to say, and also do not forget to subscribe to our little channel, that is Deeksha Vedantu. Yes, so let's meet on some other day with the next sample papers, and we are bringing in a lot of other things for you, for mathematics and things. So if you have your inputs regarding any of this, you can put it down in the comment section. Bye bye, take care.